Yes, because yes.
Okay.
All right, we are live. NFL Week 2 preview. For the rest of the year, it will be myself along with Marcus Whitman, that franchise guy, for the weekly preview every Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern. Marcus, how are we doing?
I got to say, man, it's nice to have someone else do the intro for me because that's my least favorite part of being a content creator. So you did great. Round of applause.
Thank you.
Feeling good today. I've been sick all week, but my body decided to recover just in time for this show. And I think a big Packers victory last night might have helped that a little bit too.
Definitely. They and by the way, for every weekly preview that I do throughout the year, I quickly go over the Thursday night game. The Packers are an absolute nightmare. They are very good. The defense is, I mean, it legitimately looks Super Bowl caliber. They're all over the field. Jaden had nowhere to go last night. There was a point in the game where I think his first 13 throws, maybe outside of the one Noah Brown drop, legitimately his ADOT had to have been under 3 yards. I
think it was 7 for 7 for like 9 yards or something ridiculous like that. Yeah.
But,
yeah.
So let's just go ahead and dive right in. Which game do we have first? I have all of the notes that we have. And by the way, the way that this will work for everybody that is just tuning in, Marcus he'll go a game, I'll go a game, and then one will mostly talk, add in a little bit at the end, and then move on to the next game. So
well, I heard there's a pretty big game this week.
There is.
Potentially was a big deal last year. Super Bowl rematch here, Eagles at Chiefs. And you let me get this one. So I guess that means I get to start things off here. Kind of interesting that these two teams like play so quickly. Like I kind of wish we got a little bit more time for these teams to maybe figure themselves out a little bit more before you get the big rematch. But obviously these teams are in kind of a different spot. Eagles looking for, to avoid the Super Bowl hangover, coming back from a long week. As are the Chiefs, who played in Brazil last week. But I don't think we got to see the full version of the Eagles last week, with Jalen Carter obviously getting ejected before the game essentially even started. So for me, the biggest thing I'm looking for in this game is that Eagles defensive line going against this kind of new look. Well, it's a new look Eagles defensive line going against a newer look Chiefs offensive line. They lost Joe Thuney in the trade to the Bears. They are starting a rookie at left tackle in Josh Simmons. You've got Kingsley Suamataia out there at guards. So that was the matchup, I think, that decided the Super Bowl last year, was just the Eagles defensive line just terrorizing Patrick Mahomes. We saw him kind of get uncharacteristically so like pocket trauma, where he's losing that amazing pocket presence that he has, started to bail out of clean pockets when he, the few times he did get a platform to sit back there and throw, the Eagles flustered him and he started scrambling and just had nothing. He looked terrible in that Super Bowl. So can the Eagles recreate that without Milton Williams, who was awesome in that Super Bowl, without Josh Sweat, who was probably the best, him or Jalen Carter in that Super Bowl. But the Eagles pass rush, I would say, certainly didn't look like the one we remember from last season, week 1 against Dallas, but that was also without Jalen Carter. So kind of how can that matchup square up, I think, is the biggest thing to look for in this game. I'm definitely going to lean towards the Eagles, though. Like, I just think that the Chiefs offensive line with Suamataia is still a lot of question marks there. I don't think the offensive line played particularly great last week. Jalen Carter coming in here for the Eagles, I think, is going to be a big problem. But maybe without a Josh Sweat and a Milton Williams, we can see this game be a little bit closer than it was in that Super Bowl. But beyond the trench play, the other thing is the Chiefs' defensive secondary looked awful against the Chargers and those wide receivers week 1. And honestly, I think the Eagles' wide receivers and passing game looked anemic at times. And you texted me, you were like, I don't think A.J. Brown is healthy, or he's taking routes off or something. So that's an interesting matchup to see too. I think those are two groups that struggled last week, was the Eagles passing game at large. The Chiefs secondary that looked like, they couldn't communicate. They were busting coverages. Guys were losing one-on-one reps. So that's a huge thing to watch too in this game.
Yeah. So I am going to choose the Eagles to win. I really worry about the Chiefs being able to put up enough points. And that's going to be a thing this year, especially in the first couple of games of the year without Rashee Rice, and Xavier Worthy is doubtful. And I saw this tweet the other day. I think Bobby Skinner had he replied to something with Andrew Thomas being doubtful. And I think that there was a tweet that Bobby Skinner either reposted or replied to or something where it was basically every player that has been doubtful since 2021, except there was like one player one time played. So if you're doubtful, you're pretty much out, right? So you're going to enter this game against the Eagles without Rashee Rice. You might as well say Xavier Worthy, and you're going to roll in with your top three receiving options being Travis Kelce, Marquise Brown, who did play solid last week. I mean, he was targeted quite a bit, and Juju Smith-Schuster at this point in his career. I really, really worry about Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt being enough in the run game, and they combined for 10 carries for 41 yards last week. Mahomes led the team in rushing. I really worry, man, especially with Jalen Carter now back. And you look at the Eagles defense, they have playmakers at every level, whether it's Jalen Carter, of course, whether it's Jahad Campbell, who played phenomenal in his debut, and the Eagles secondary led, of course, by Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. I think the Chiefs are going to have a hard time putting up points. And I think there's a very real reality where the Chiefs are looking at an 0-2 start, and they play the Ravens in week 4. So there's a non-zero chance the Chiefs are looking at a 1-3 start, given the fact that they're already 0-1.
This really is setting up for like all those years during the Patriots, the Patriots dynasties. It was always setting up like those teams started slow. They had like 1-3 starts, and it was always like, oh, is the Patriots dynasty over? Can totally see this happening all over again with the Chiefs, where, you know, we're saying they're a mid team. They're coming in like the 12 or 18th spot in the power rankings, and then they will go and rip off like 11 straight, win the AFC West, and they'll be right back in the Super Bowl again. But I do think this Chiefs team does have some legitimate issues right now that it's certainly not a given that just happens. I mean, that feels very much like a narrative, like fate-based take, as opposed to anything related to how good the Chiefs actually look. So I'm also taking the Eagles in this game. I do think it'll be a close one. I think it'll be a lot closer than the Super Bowl, because I don't think the Eagles are playing at that height as well. Like, they were just absolutely rolling by the time that Super Bowl hit. I think we saw them against Dallas. Like, obviously, like, no Jalen Carter. I think the defense will play much better this week. But yeah, like, offensively, they got to get this thing rolling. They have a new play caller as well, so that's a big part of that. But yeah, I will take the Eagles to win this one in a close game.
All right, next game. What do we have?
You just tell me, and I'll put the proper.
Let's go
banner up for us.
Let's go Rams Titans. Let's go Rams Titans.
All right.
This is
interesting choice for this first one off the bat.
I like to get the 1 o'clock games and then go from there. But with Rams Titans, I'm going to be honest. I really worry about the Titans. I really worry about the direction of where this franchise is headed. And I really, really hate to say that one game into Cam Ward's rookie season. Not that I think Cam Ward is on the path to being a draft disappointment or bust or anything like that. I think Cam Ward is going to be fine. But first, I do want to note that J.C. Latham and Tavondre Sweat are both out in this game. Obviously, that's huge. No pun intended, based on each player's relative size. But when you look at the Tennessee Titans, one of the things that frustrated me last year that I could not hammer home enough was I didn't think the 2024 Titans were a number 1 overall pick bad team. Now, I didn't think they were, a playoff team or an 11 or 12 win team. I didn't think they were historically bad, right? To finish with the worst record in the league. And I go back to coaching, and unfortunately, the elbow gate last week, I don't know if you saw this, where Alec Iomanner caught a ball in bounds. He had his elbow come down in bounds, and the rest of his body was out. After the game, Brian Callahan came out and said that he also had to get a foot along with it. And then it was a whole thing because he didn't know the rules. And then he either had to come out and double down whether he didn't know the rules or admit that he didn't know the rules. It's a whole thing. And then not only that, I really worry about the discipline of the Titans. I really worry about just how many penalties this team commits every single week. And last year, they were one of 3 teams to have over, I want to say it was like 130 penalties and over 1,000 yards in penalties, along with the Browns and the Ravens of all teams, go figure. They started out with 131 yards of offense in Denver with 133 yards of offense, 131 yards in penalties. And whenever you look at this Rams team, their defensive line is absolutely loaded. They're going to put Cam Ward under pressure quite a bit. And I think Calvin Ridley will gradually get going as the season goes on, but I don't trust the Titans defense to be able to hold up as long as, the Rams interior offensive line can double and triple team Jeffrey Simmons and take him out of the game, because Jeffrey Simmons is obviously a game wrecker. But even if they don't, I don't trust a Brian Callahan coach team to beat a Sean McVay coach team. And it really frustrates me for Titans fans, because I really think they deserve better. And I don't think this roster is a bad roster, but when push comes to shove, I am going to choose the Rams in this one, especially with Puka Nacua, who had over 130 yards last week, and Devontae Adams, who he didn't have that much of an impact on the game last week, but I expect him to get going. And Matt Stafford, I thought, all things considered, obviously with the narrative every offseason, I know that you've mentioned how it's difficult to rank the Rams with every offseason preview, because you never know if you're getting Stafford, whether you want to put him in the top 8 or whether you want to put him in the 18 to 20 area, because you don't know. But I'm going to go with the Rams to win this game.
Yeah, this screams Rams, man. Every matchup, like you saw the Rams last week, they really struggled against those edge rushers for the Texans. Like, when I think of the Rams offensive line, they're built on the interior, but their tackles are a little more shaky. I don't think Havenstein and Jackson are horrible, but they're very like middle of the road tackle talents. The Titans win on the interior of that defensive line. So I think it's going to look a lot different in terms of Stafford actually having some more time to throw this week. His ability to find answers against that Texans defense last week was unbelievable. Just like when they had to get a bucket on third down, he was putting it in the exact spot it needed to be, or a timing throw against zone coverage to Puka. But really impressed with him and Devontae Adams to have a chemistry out the gate, like with a week of practice together. Right. Like, it's insane. Like, even Devontae and Aaron Rodgers didn't have that chemistry for the first few weeks in New York that seemingly Stafford and Devontae had. So I'm all over the Rams out the gate this year. Obviously Stafford's got to stay healthy, but I think they look tremendous. And the last point is, you mentioned the Latham injury on the O-line. The Rams throw so many stunts at you.
Yes.
This offensive line for Tennessee is new. They're going to have a lot on their plate in terms of picking up all these twists and games up front. And, it'd be a big testament to Coach Callahan, Bill Callahan, if he could find an answer to pick up this defense. And then maybe he could start to see some life from Cam Ward.
I want to give one bold prediction here. I don't know if it's that bold, but Ali Udo is supposed to replace JC Latham at right tackle. He played for the Vikings for years. Ali Udo is not a great player. I think there's a very real chance Jared Verse wins the defensive player of the week in week 2. Jared Verse is a player that I love. I think he's a future DPOY winner. This is the game to really get right and not get right, but really to pad the stats and have a 2.5 sack performance. I think I
like it.
There's a good chance that he wins the defensive player of the week.
Dan Moore was so bad in week 1 too. So I thought Dan Moore would at least be okay-ish. Obviously way overpaid, but like okay-ish. He was one of the worst players out on the field in week 1. So he's got to clean that up for sure. Obviously we're both going Rams there pretty handily. Are we opening up the table to talk about like spreads and gambling and that kind of stuff here? Or we want to leave that?
I would say just a quick, I would take the Rams by 5.5 personally. I would take them. Yes.
Yeah. But I didn't actually take a peek at the spread on this one, but I am
it's on the graphic. It's on the graphic.
Oh, it's in there. Yeah.
Yeah. Huh? My guy has it. My guy has it.
I need my glasses, I guess.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. I like the Rams to win this one. Poor Cam Ward. I want to see him have success. I don't think this is going to be the week that. All right. I guess it's my choice out of my 7 games here. I think I will kind of piggyback off of that and go to the Houston Texans hosting the Tampa Bay Bucks here. So there we go. We got notes. Okay. So Tampa Bay kind of barely beat the Falcons last week. That was interesting. The missed field goal off at the end of the game was crazy, but Tampa definitely is kind of seeking answers right now without Tristan Wirfs, without Chris Godwin. Obviously, Emeka Egbuka stole the show last week. So I'm definitely fascinated to see if Egbuka can kind of honestly continue to carry this offense this week, or if Tampa can maybe find a better way to run the ball, because it really was just big plays to Egbuka or nothing else for Tampa's offense last week. Bucky Irving didn't have a whole lot of runway. against the Falcons defense. And I do not think Houston's going to make things easy for Tampa's offense. So like, where do the answers come from? Is it Emeka Egbuka? Do we see like maybe can Mike Evans get the best of Derek Stingley in this game? That's going to be a really fun matchup. But like the big thing is what Tampa's doing with their offensive line is very fascinating to me. They took Graham Barton, who played tackle in college. They put him at left tackle with Tristan Wirfs out. They slid Bredesen into center, and then they're starting Michael Jordan, not the Michael Jordan, but Michael Jordan.
Start debate. The GOAT.
The GOAT at left guard. I think I saw that he dropped the Michael and is just going by Mike Jordan. But I think that's actually worked for him because he was okay against, to be honest, a really bad Falcons interior D-line that got rid of Grady Jarrett and didn't keep right? They didn't keep is it Fox, Morgan Fox? He ended up not making the team, right?
No,
Am I wrong about that?
I remember seeing him on the roster throughout the July and August and thinking he is old at this point. I'd be surprised. If
he didn't, unless he's on IR. No, he didn't end up. That's kind of interesting because they gave him a decent amount of money in free agency, but he didn't end up making the team. So, yeah, I mean, obviously we're previewing the Bucs Texans here, not talking Falcons, but not going to give Mike Jordan too much credit for slowing down Brandon Dorless and Ruka Rororo. But anyway, the formation of the Tampa Bay offensive line is very fascinating to me. How do they hold up against, basically going from bottom 3 pass rush in Atlanta last week to top 3 this week, and the Bucs offense already didn't look that great. So definitely worried for Tampa's, offensive side of things here, but also Houston, man, they have offensive line issues all the way through.
Yes.
CJ Stroud was more of the same, if not worse, honestly, than what he went through last year. They shuffled the deck big time. No team basically deleted their offensive line and started over like they did. And the Rams showed last week, like blitzes, stunts, twists. This offensive line was not prepared for it, and that was their big issue last year too. So a lot of questions about just the scheming, the protection against twists and stunts and blitzes, and that's also a Todd Bowles thing. So I'm expecting a very low-scoring game in this one. I think I lean towards Houston being the home team here. CJ Stroud not allowing this team to start 1-0 or 0-2 because I do think that this is a good Texans team that just happens to have a crippling issue being their O-line issues. But I think Stroud can find enough answers, and I really think the Texans defense is going to eat in this one.
Yeah, I'm with the over-under is 42.5. I think this is, I didn't even look at that before. I just put down in my notes, this is a big-time under game because I worry about both teams' offensive lines holding up. I also have a take in my back pocket pertaining to the Bucs. I want to let's see the season play out a little bit, but I'll just say that I worry about Baker against the Texans secondary combined. I mean, just the defense in general. I mean, that's one of the best defenses you're going to see all year. And that's a very tough matchup. So I'm taking the under all day. And I'm with you with the Texans not starting out 0-2. So I am going to go with Houston to win this game.
And this is the first of the doubleheader, first of the Monday night doubleheader. God, I love Monday night doubleheaders. You're a go to bed early, rise early type of guy. Right?
I'm like I'm like 10:30 to 5:30,
and you're East Coast, so that's like a double whammy. Yeah, for me, I'm waking up late, like staying up late. I love watching football till midnight. It's great. All right, where are you going next?
We're going Pats Dolphins. AFC East.
There you go.
Clash. Christian Gonzalez out. That's a whole. Keon White's also out. I have some concerns with the Patriots. I really do. We're week 2 with Christian Gonzalez out. He has not practiced since I want to say like late July, and we're talking about a hamstring injury. I worry here. I'm just going to be honest. That concerns me big time. I hope the best. I hope we see him soon rather than later, but this is an issue that looks like it could go on for quite a while. Now, with that being said, this is a game. If you are the Dolphins, you got to get Tua going early. You cannot have another whatever the hell you want to call last week. If you just want to flush that down the drain, just forget about it, whatever. You got to get Tua going. But I'm going to be honest. I think there's really, really deep issues in Miami with the whole Tua, Mike McDaniel, Chris Greer, and then you can kind of even throw in Tyreek Hill with that situation as well. One of my notes that I wrote down was Tyreek Hill just with a question mark. And then last week with the Dolphins, one of the biggest things that I was really excited about with this team heading into the 25 season was the pass rushing trio of Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips, and Chop Robinson. They were nowhere to be seen last week against Daniel Jones. And that's a problem. And with the Patriots, I wrote down that they definitely need to run the ball more efficient. That was one of the big ones. They did go up against Malcolm Kuntz and Max Crosby and the Raiders last week. That was a pretty, it was somewhat tough
to talk about the Raiders. Yeah.
But the Drake May also has to play better. He missed several throws high. Now he did have some good plays mixed in within, but if there's been one thing about quarterback play so far this year, there's been a lot of high misses, and that's kind of been league wide. Drake May was no exception. But when it comes hell or high water in situations like this, I'm going to go with the coach that I trust more, and I'm going to go with Mike Vrabel and the Patriots to win this game.
Yeah, man. It's a really tough one to call. Like, what is the power of a players only meeting in a disaster situation? It feels crazy to side with Miami at all. It's tough. You're counting on Miami to get some form of their former glory, if you can even call it that, back, if they're going to even stand a chance, because they weren't a competitive NFL team, and it's really hard to pick them to fix that in the course of a week. I do think, yeah, like you said, like Vrabel at least has these guys like on the same page. I don't think they have too much of a like cohesive plan at this time, but at least they're a unified locker room at this point in time. So I also got to go with New England just for that factor. But I just want to see some more consistency from Drake May, like against a pretty mediocre Patriots defense. Like, I want to get excited about Drake May. I loved him as a prospect. I banged the drum and I was like, they got so lucky that the Commanders took Jaden Daniels and all this stuff. Like, I want to see it, but right now it's really all in flashes. And I'm not saying he's, looking like this isn't working, but it certainly isn't looking like it is working. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, put it all together. Like, let's see a 4-quarter game. Don't let this team start 0-2. I'll go with that. Like, everybody was saying, the Patriots are going to win 8-9 games this year because their schedule's so easy. Say that. Well, I did that. They lost to the Raiders, and you could come out and lose to the Dolphins here and start 0-2, and it's not going to matter. So I lean Patriots, but this one I do think will probably be pretty close.
I agree. I do want to say real quick that if the Dolphins lose this game, it depends how they lose, right? If they lose this game anywhere close to the way they lost to the Colts, they have Buffalo on Thursday night in week 3 in Buffalo. And coming on, and then presumably if they lost to the Colts and Patriots in back-to-back weeks, the way they lost to the Colts, I would venture to say they'd lose to the Bills in the same manner. And then you'd be talking about, 0-3, mini bye, good time to start over. Things could get really, really ugly really quickly for the Dolphins, really quickly. Not that I think it's going to happen, but I'm pointing it out.
Yeah. What about this is maybe a little off topic, but whoever is looking for a complete restart, a little Brian Flores, Mike McDaniel combo coach combination for a new team next year.
Brian Flores is good where he is. He's good where he is. He's fine. He's fine. He can look. I talked to my guy Ziggy Wilf. He just blank check. blank check. Ziggy. I'm not one to praise ownership all the time and just like the billionaire and all that thing. But he's a good owner. He's a really good owner. Always pays his guys early. We get everything done. Just give him a blank check. We're good. I don't need to entertain that nonsense that you just said, by the way.
Oh man. All right. So I think I'm going to take this one to a game close to my heart that my viewers maybe are surprised it didn't start here, but Carolina and Arizona, two of my favorite, I feel like Bryce Young and Kyler Murray are like my youngest kids that I will defend to death. But it's like, man, can we start to grow up a little bit? Can we mature here? Neither of these QBs did much in week 1, right? And both these guys had expectations. You're hoping the Cardinals can kind of take a leap into division contention, at least, if nothing else. And the Panthers, obviously, it was kind of like a show me season, as we know. And we'll start on like Carolina's side of things. Like, you know, it was one of those games where Bryce played poorly, but so did everybody else. You know, like they had a backup left tackle in there. And while I'm talking here, can you look up if Ikem Ekwonu is playing this week for me? Or maybe
Good call. And by the way, just real quick, Josh Hines Allen against Josh Nijman ended exactly like you would expect.
Exactly. Yeah. So there was a lot of plays where Bryce didn't have a chance. You had like one of Bryce's better plays where Xavier Legette doesn't get the second foot down. It's like, man, you know, talk about like maturing as a football player. Like you gotta know in your second season, you got to drag that back foot. He easily should have caught that ball. The pick was an excellent play that, you know, Bryce shouldn't have thrown it, but it was an excellent play by Eric Murray, the safety, to, you know, make a beeline on that ball. It gets picked. You get a Foye Oluokun forces a fumble on a brilliant peanut punch while Bryce is sliding. So there's a lot of like surprisingly good defensive plays by the Jags. I'm not quite ready to say that this Panthers offense can't recapture that steam. We saw them start slow last year, obviously. So I just want to see them, you know, bounce back. Basically, I'm not giving up on this Panthers offense yet, but if you can't do that against a Cardinals defense that I like a lot more this year, but you should be able to at least have some answers against this team, then I would probably start to have some more panic conversations about what all is going on in Carolina. But yeah, for Arizona, it was more of like, it wasn't bad offensively. It was far from bad. I don't think Kyler was bad or anything, but I want to see in an opportunity here against a horrible Panthers defense. Like they were so bad last year. It was every single week. It was, you go down the board of like basically every quarterback that had their best performance on the season, it was always against the Panthers defense. And they're not that much better this year. I thought that the Jags offense should have scored a lot more than they did, but Trevor Lawrence just kept overthrowing footballs. There was a lot of, you know, run lanes open and passing, you know, receivers open and all that stuff. So I want to see that the Cardinals not just come out and run the ball effectively and, you know, throw the ball short of the sticks and lean on run after catch from Trey McBride. I know they can do that. I want to see them kind of put the pedal down and have kind of a statement win here. They are 6.5 point favorites in this game. If I'm a Cardinals fan, that's what I want to see from their side of things. Like this should be a game that you're kind of at home opener, right? They were in New Orleans last week.
Yes. Yep.
Come out and kind of like, you know, get some big completions down the field to Marvin Harrison. You know, let's see Marvin beat JC Horn on a back shoulder or on a go ball. Like get some real momentum going there. And then obviously Carolina's got an opportunity as well. Last thing I'll say here, Will Johnson, rookie debut. Holy crap. He looks like phenomenal.
Yeah,
like
big boy.
The NFL overthought this one big time. Now, obviously it's a health type deal, but this does not feel like the David Ojabos and the who is the guy you guys drafted, the cornerback,
Andrew Booth.
Andrew Booth. This doesn't feel like one of those situations where the NFL was right for letting the super talented guy fall to the second round. Like Will Johnson probably should have been like defensive player of the week type of status. He had an interception wiped off the board too because of a hold on the complete other end of the field. But he also had. He had, I mean, what was his final stat line? I just know he was everywhere. Like watching that game back, it felt like
it was very much whatever the stats say. He was all over the field. Like I don't care what it is. He was all over.
He did. He had 2 pass breakups, and I'm pretty sure that's not going to include the interception that he did have. He had a 90 PFF coverage grade, and he detonated Chris Olave on the screen too.
Yes.
So like he looks like a huge difference maker for this defense. But yeah, I really don't even really want to pick this game because I have a soft spot in my heart for both these teams. You got to lean Arizona, of course, as the heavy favorites there at home, but I'm excited to watch this game one way or another.
I am too. I do have a super chat that I want to get to. It's from Kyle. He says, and I feel pretty much the same way. He says, I'm worried about the Panthers. I feel like if they get behind, Canales is going to hammer the pass, obviously, and then the Cardinals secondary is going to feast. And I would also agree with that. And he talks about Xavier Legette. He just said quote that he looks useless and that they already have key injuries. Not good. I would also agree with the key injuries and everything. And I'll be honest, at this point, I'm kind of out on Xavier Legette. I want him to do well. I would love for him to prove me wrong, but I don't think there's a lot there for him to succeed in Carolina. I mean, obviously the physical traits are there, but there's, 1 catch for -1 yards through 3 quarters last week. There's never been a game in a year now where we've said, hey, Xavier Legette is legitimately showing promise. He's probably most known for that drop in Philly last year. I'm kind of out on Legette, man. I hope I'm proven wrong, but I'm going to go with Arizona to win. I think this is a game where they can, if they pounce early, they can get up 14-0 by midway through the second quarter. That once you kind of, start to, if it's like a wrestling match, you start to really pin the Panthers down, that they can't get up. You saw it last week, and Bryce's stat line last week already wasn't good, but it was really inflated by an extra 30-yard touchdown with 3 or 4 minutes left to play when Jacksonville was up like 26-3. So I think Cardinals cover with this one, and I think that they win. And this should be a start out 2-0 season for the Cardinals, and I think they cover as well.
Yeah. And even one last thing I want to add on is even if we want to see the Cardinals passing game like really explode, the run game is pretty dangerous. And Trey Benson looked like, he's ready to go now. And we saw a little bit more of a workload split here with Benson and Connor. And if they do get out early, like you were saying, like this could be like a 250 yards on the ground type of day where Kyler throws the ball 12 times. Like they could just steamroll on the ground if it goes that way. So where do you want to go next?
Next up, Queen City, Skyline Chili, Jags Bengals. We're on to Cincinnati. All right, so
still have not had the Skyline. I've been to Cincinnati 3 times, and I've never done the Skyline.
I have a friend's fiance who has family out there. She bought like the stuff that you can bring home, like the Skyline, like in a can, like that type of thing. So I had it that way. Had it once, probably wouldn't go again for seconds. I'll just leave it at that.
They did wish me happy birthday on Twitter one time though.
That's a sick flex. That's a sick
someone flex. tagged like happy birthday, go get some Skyline chili while you're in Cincinnati, and they chimed in. They're like, I think they even gave me like a free meal or something. I didn't take them up on it.
That's a sick flex from Skyline. But a couple fun facts I have for this game. Both teams looking to improve to 2-0 for the first time since 2018, and with Trevor and Joe Burrow, we have a 2020 national championship rematch. And technically, Jamar Chase was also in that game, obviously.
And T. Higgins was also.
No, yeah, he would have been. He would have been. Yeah.
He was Trevor's guy. Yeah.
So we have a national championship rematch. The Jags, I have continued to run the ball well. I was genuinely shocked with how well ETN played last week. I really happy for him, by the way. I thought, obviously he played phenomenal. Great game in Liam Cohen's head coaching debut. One thing that I do worry about is one thing that the national media is not talking about. I went back, watched the routes he ran, and then, of course, there was only 7 targets, so this isn't like it was some, late night grinding film, but I worry about the connection between Trevor Lawrence and Brian Thomas Jr. Not worry, but I think there's something to be noted there. Obviously, Brian Thomas Jr. is a phenomenal receiver. I think talent-wise, he's very easily in the top 10 in the NFL, and then you can, take your rankings after that. But he had a lot of his production last year with Mac Jones at quarterback. And with him and Trevor, the connection outside of that one really big 85-yard touchdown against the Colts last year, we haven't seen a whole lot. And he did have the one big touchdown against the Dolphins in his debut, but I'm a little underwhelmed with what we've seen from Brian Thomas Jr. and Trevor based on what we've seen with Mac Jones at the end of last year. And it didn't get off to a good start against the Panthers, who I don't think the Panthers secondary is all that good. And even on the plays that Brian Thomas Jr. was targeted, there were a couple of missed throws from Trevor. They're
totally.
It was definitely noteworthy. I'll say that. Not worrisome, but definitely noteworthy. So that's something I would definitely like to see. I don't think the Bengals defense is, top 10, top 12 unit. And the Bengals fans know this. The Bengals fans know this. They had 7 yards in the second half last week. They know they were lucky to escape last week with a win, but an ugly win is always better than a pretty loss. So they'll take a win last week, winning the way they did versus a 35-34 loss on Thursday night like they had last year to the Ravens. So 1-0 is 1-0. Never apologize for being 1-0, right? But I thought as crazy as this is going to sound, now I know what I just said about the Bengals defense. In a lot of ways, they won because of the performance of Trey Hendrickson and Shamar Stewart last week. And I thought Shamar Stewart, despite not showing up big time on the stat sheet, I thought his impact was pretty noticeable. And I thought that was really good to see, especially with everything that happened over the summer with Shamar Stewart and even Trey Hendrickson for that matter too. They looked really good last week. Obviously, we know the offense has to play better. You can't have 7 yards and a half and then expect to win multiple games. That's just not going to happen. And then I do worry about Cincinnati's offensive line holding up against Jacksonville's pass rush. And I do want to I do want to just kind of credit the Browns. They and even you guys did this last night with Jaden. I mean, Jaden got outside a little bit, and Jaden's going to get his, but the NFL this year is kind of what they're just kind of like trying to condense guys more than I feel like they ever have within the pocket. And, you saw that last night with you guys lining Micah up on the right side and basically forcing Jaden to his left or forcing Jaden to just stay in the pocket entirely. And I thought the Browns did a good job of that last week. So that's something to note for the Jags. And that's also something to note with the Bengals offensive line. And this is going to be one of the toughest games to pick this week because you can legitimately convince yourself of either side. If you want to say, hey, Josh Hines, Allen, Trayvon Walker, they're going to make Joe Burrow's life hell, you can have reasonable evidence to back that up. But you could also basically say, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, they're not going to play bad in back-to-back weeks. And this is, I would say, if anybody does those things where they do the pick'ems each week where, you have like the 1 level confidence or the 16 level confidence, I am not confident in this game at all. I think I would choose Cincinnati to win this game just because we know this team's ceiling is offensively up there with the best in the NFL, and I would choose that. But it's a slow start for Cincinnati last week. We don't know how long until they really rebound. Obviously, they're not going to play like that all year, but I think I would go with Cincinnati to win this game.
Yeah, the Jags are very interesting to me. I don't think they looked like the team I kind of expected them to look like, honestly. Very physical team. Like they played really good defense. They got like just superstar types of plays. Like these, like Eric Murray, the signing looks like super underrated already out the gate. Foye Oluokun looks like totally rejuvenated in this defense with Aaron Campanelli as a linebacker guy. Like he looked phenomenal last week. He had the pick, he had the forced fumble, it was all over the field. And I'm very excited to kind of learn what this new era of Jags football is going to look like. I'm very curious to see what they do with Travis Hunter in this game. I feel like they kind of botched like week 1. Like they spent, basically give 3 first-round picks to go get him. And they're showing his pregame. They're showing his snaps from college where he averaged like 112 snaps a game or something in college. How many snaps do you think Travis Hunter played last week? If you don't know,
I did the research. I'm pretty sure it was 6.
So he played 6 on defense. And how many do you think he played on offense?
I think that was 42.
40, pretty good. Yep, 44. So 46. He didn't even play a full games of snaps on one side of the ball. He played 49 snaps. Whereas you have, 66 available on offense, 64 available on defense. So, like, can they find a way to make Travis Hunter an impact in this game, either offensively if this turns into a shootout, which it's more than capable. Like we know the Bengals can get into a shootout any given week, despite what happened last week, or can they use him more on defense to actually make this more of a defensive identity type of team? Like the Jags don't have the athletes to match up with Jamar Chase if it's not Travis Hunter. So do we see a lot more of that factor and just say, hey, go follow Jamar? Like, don't worry about the play call or anything. Like we'll scheme around it. I know it doesn't exactly work that way, but yeah, I think that's something very interesting is like, can they get more from that prized asset? Whereas they won week 1 really with pretty much nothing from Travis Hunter outside of some like screen throws and some underneath throws. So that's something I'm definitely interested in here. And then, yeah, can the Bengals just not be bad like they were in week 1? So very excited for this one. I might go against the grain here. I might go Jags. I was impressed by the Jags. Trevor's he's got to be a little more accurate this week, but it's
that's the thing. I could actually, and I actually plan to do a video at some point on the channel just breaking down Trevor at we're in year 5 and he's still, this is a conversation we could have with Caleb Williams as well, but there's still basic plays that Trevor does not hit. And I actually wrote down specifically, like I said, there was multiple plays that he missed with BTJ last week. He did have one really good ball to De'Ami Brown before the half. If you went back, I don't know if you saw it or not, but it was a really good ball right before half. But it's kind of like Dr. Jekyll and Trevor Lawrence. You don't know what you're going to get. So I could be talked into either side, but I'm going to go with Joe Burrow and Jamar and T. Higgins, the offense that I think has the higher ceiling.
Yeah. And not to drag on about this game, I know we want to move forward, but you mentioned De'Ami Brown. He looks great. I thought on the offensive line, like they looked really good there. The additions of Patrick McCarry, Robert Hainsey, They bring in I mentioned Eric Murray in free agency, Jordan Lewis, like all these kind of like mid-ranging free agent additions with James Gladstone, the new GM. Like it reminds me of the Bengals a few years ago where they just hit on some of these mid-range free agent signings to transform their defense. Some of those vibes here with like, man, they kind of like did the thing that you've been waiting for Trent Baalke to do this whole time to just fill in the depth with like quality players. They really did impress me in a lot of areas. So excited to see if they can follow it up week 2 against a non-Panthers team.
All right, where are we headed? And by the way, in the meantime, friend of both channels, Broshmo, met him down in Mobile, great guy. He did comment. He said, "Chat, hit the thumbs up." So if you are enjoying the preview, go ahead, hit the thumbs up. Would appreciate everybody hitting the thumbs up. So, Brosh is an awesome guy, by the way.
What did you say? What was that last comment?
I said Brosh is an awesome guy, by the way. He's awesome.
Oh yeah,
great time down in Mobile.
Yeah,
definitely looking forward to Mobile this year.
Oh God, don't tempt me with a good time. All right, let's go Denver, Indianapolis.
This is you. This is all you. Yep.
The battle of the horses. All right. So like, is this real for Indianapolis, right? Like Daniel Jones, no one's taking him seriously. Well, here you go. Here's one of the best defenses in the NFL coming to town. Can you put together this game plan? It's pretty simple in terms of what to look for in this game on the Colts side of things. And then Bo Nix was so bad last week. I don't know if he's just going to be one of these, like, is he going to have the same thing Joe Burrow has where he's just going to suck in week 1 every time? Because last year we were like panicking by how many times he was throwing the ball to the defense against Seattle week 1. So can he do what he did last year and settle back down and play well? I can't remember if it was week 2 or week 3 against Tampa.
It went Seattle, Pittsburgh, and then Tampa was when they beat them 26-7, beat them by 19. And that
was kind of their breakout, like standout performance for sure. So kind of a clashing of narratives here. Indy obviously getting the home field advantage in this one. I think it's a lower scoring, tight match, a couple of more ball control style offenses. Just excited to see a continue. It's weird to say, excited to see a continuation of the Daniel Jones offense, but he is at least a quarterback that's going to let you see the best of these playmakers like Tyler Warren. Like that whole strategy out the gate looked great. What do you have? Like 7-8 catches, just doing his thing in this offense. Michael Pittman looks healthy. The run game was working with Jonathan Taylor. Like, it's going to be a fun matchup against a Broncos defense that likes to blitz, put a lot of pressure on you. I don't think that necessarily pairs well with a ball control offense like this that's going to get these guys out in space quickly. I think the Colts actually probably could give this defense more fits with the way they're constructed than, say, I don't know, an offense that's more about pushing the ball downfield and buying time for the quarterback. It's not going to phase this team as much. So kind of the Shane Steichen, Vance Joseph matchup, the chess match is going to be a very fascinating one. And I'm not surprised that the spread on this one is just 2. Denver is favored. They should be the better team, but I've been kind of pounding the table this whole offseason. Like, hey, the Colts are better than you think. Their roster is better than it's been in a long time. The defense with Eberflus looked great last week, obviously. So should be kind of a scrappy match. That's going to come down to a turnover here, a fumble there, bad call there. I think I'm going to take Denver just because I do love their defense and I don't quite trust Daniel Jones all the way yet.
Right.
But
I'm with you.
He's underrated, man. And they absolutely could pull this upset.
I would also take Denver. The over-under is 43.5. I would also definitely take the under on that. This is going to be, I feel like this is like a 13-10, 17-14. I think this is going to be a lower scoring game. And, you're going to have Lou Anarumo against Bo Nix after, last week of what the Titans had. And I'm eager to see the Colts defense against the Broncos as well, and eager to see how Bo Nix plays in week 2 as well. Bo Nix started off last year, 0 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and then he came back and it was something ridiculous to end the year. It was like 29-6 because I think he finished 29-10 or something. But we'll see. Is another slow start? Is it a sophomore slump? We'll see. And I wouldn't even really get into the sophomore slump, legitimate sophomore slump, until like week 5 or 6. But I would go with Denver as well. I trust Sean Payton and Bo Nix more at this point than I do Daniel Jones and Shane Steichen right this second. But this should be a very interesting game to say the least.
Absolutely. I was trying to look up to Colts defensive line, how they were a little, it felt like they were a little more quiet last week. You had the Latu interception, but that's a huge deal.
Crazy.
Like Denver's offensive line is awesome. So,
right.
A lot will be decided there. I think if the Colts defensive line can step up with the crowd behind them at home there. All right. It's your choice.
We have Seattle to Western Pennsylvania. Sorry. Western Pennsylvania.
What is this? A D3 school?
Yes, it's actually, let me think of a D3 school out there. Not Robert Morris. There's so many schools. Duquesne. No, Duquesne's D1. California University of Pennsylvania. That's also out there. Clarion University, Slippery Rock. There's a lot of schools out in the, Waynesburg. Waynesburg's a good pool, by the way. Waynesburg is a good pool. I had a buddy that went there. That's a good pool.
I don't know if you saw my tweet, but the Gophers played something called Northwestern
State. Yeah. Oh, I'm lagging.
I lost you there for a second. Is it my internet that's bugging right now, or is it your internet?
I'm not sure, but yeah, they said Northwestern State from Louisiana, right?
Yeah, or Illinois or something. But their logo literally looks like have you ever played the college football video game?
Yep.
Their logo literally looks like the default like NPC. Like,
no, we checked out again.
But anyway, take it away for Western Pennsylvania.
All right, so Seattle's keys to win. First off, we got to spread the ball around more. We have to spread the ball around more. I don't know if you looked into this last week. First off, they had the training wheels on my guy Sam Darnold. They had the training wheels on him all game. There's a lot of screens. There was very little play action. It was a frustrating game plan from Kubiak. I was expecting more from him, and I didn't understand what they were trying to do against San Francisco. Jackson Smith-Njigba had over 120 yards last week. The next leading receiver was 15 yards. You can't win like that. We also have to try and get both running backs going, go for more risky or ballsy decisions. And I want to ask your opinion on this. Well, I want to ask if you know what happened. Do you know what happened last week within the 49ers Seahawks game near the end?
A lot happened, but
okay, it was a 10...
had play of the year. Tariq Woolen should have ended the game with a pick.
Left.
There was a lot that went on.
All right, 3 minutes left, 10-10. Seattle had the ball on San Francisco's 19-yard line, 4th and 1.
Yeah.
What do you do in that situation? 4th and 1 on the opponent's 19-yard line. 3 minutes left, tie game.
You go for it.
Mike McDonald kicked the field goal. They 13-10. San Francisco goes down, gets a touchdown, 17-13. They lose. We can't have
defensive head coach.
I was so frustrated with that because I'm a big Mike McDonald guy. That was play to lose. I hated that decision. We got to get Torrey Horton and Cooper Kupp way more involved. Like I said, we got to take the training wheels off Sam. That's last week was not good for Seattle. I didn't like a lot of what they did last week. They also did not control the ball hardly at all compared to San Francisco. So got to work on that as well. For the Steelers, keys to win. Broderick Jones has to play better. Obviously, that was a nightmare last week. Aaron Rodgers played great in his debut, all things considered. They have to stop the run more efficiently, though. I think the Jets' offensive line is significantly better than Seattle's offensive line, and I don't think that should be even up for debate. But so I think that will kind of naturally, get better over the course of the year. And one thing that also has to be noted is the DK revenge game part, and Tariq Woolen was a complete liability last week. And if there is another hot take that I have here, I think that there's a chance that Tariq Woolen is, I don't know. I was going to say off the team by the end of the year, but I would be absolutely shocked if Seattle has any interest at all in bringing him back. He's in hot water right now. Josh Jobe is contending for that other corner spot, and for good reason. Tariq Woolen did not have a good season opener last week, and I think there's cases of players peaking in their rookie year, and I think Tariq Woolen was a classic case of that, at least based on everything that we have.
And just interceptions being the most obvious signal that someone's overrated and going to come back down to earth. It happens like 99% of the time, and that's what I tried to tell people early in Tariq Woolen's career. But anyway.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
That was it.
Oh,
and by the way, let me give a winner. This is a tough game to pick, man. This is another one where Seattle to Pittsburgh, you really worry about that cross country, that early flight, or the early rise for the West Coast team. again, I think this is like Jacksonville and Cincinnati. You can legitimately talk yourself into either side. But I'm going to go with the Steelers. And I'm going to also say that DK Metcalf has over 100 yards in the process and scores.
Yeah, I mean, this is how does Pittsburgh block up Seattle's front? They're going to throw a million different things at these guys. I definitely think that's where Aaron Rodgers shows his struggles, is when you got those twists and guys coming from different directions. I think Rodgers, his sack total, if you're making your weekly lineups and stuff, like for pick'ems and stuff, like I think Rodgers is going to take probably 5 sacks in this game. And can they win if that's the case? And can Seattle's kind of scheming and the way that confused you on the background, like having watched Aaron Rodgers very closely my whole career, he's really struggled with, the post-snap safety rotation era has been an issue for him. He loves to know what he's getting pre-snap and know where he needs to go with the ball. Just kind of evolving from an older era to a newer era as the oldest starter in the league. It's been challenging for him. So Aaron Rodgers guy, of course, but he's going to have some challenges in this game against Seattle for sure. So it's going to be another low scoring tight game. I think the Pittsburgh by 3 is probably not a lot of value there. I think closer to a pick'em game in my mind. But my gut's telling me Seattle bounces back, kind of evens things out here. So I'll go Seattle if we're making picks here. Shout out in the chat, super chat from Monty. Calling back to that Broncos game, by the way. Thank you. Very generous super chat, Monty. Appreciate you. Just saying that Sean Payton historically does have slow starts because he kind of puts a little bit too much on his play calling sheet with different personnel packages and stuff, and then tends to dial things back and figure out what's working and what's not working as the season goes on. So a good note on the Broncos struggles week 1 there. But it's my choice for our next game here. So I'll be honest, I made a mistake when you sent me the list, and I prepped the New England Dolphins game. Okay. So we can maybe strike this one together. I don't have any notes on it, but it is a couple of familiar teams here for us NFC North fans here. But Chicago and Detroit, 2 teams coming off about as bad of a start as you could have possibly hoped for. 2 teams with expectations to, obviously in Detroit's case, but even Chicago compete for the NFC North. The Ben Johnson Bowl. Here, but it's a big deal, right? Like, can Chicago straighten things out against a non-Brian Flores defense? At least the thing with Detroit, as opposed to Minnesota, is you at least kind of know what you're getting. And Ben Johnson obviously is going to have an advantage in this game. I think, kind of saying, all right, we're going to get a lot of cover 1. We know what kind of fronts they're going to run. Can you come out with a much more structured game plan from quarter 1 through quarter 4? To put together a good day on offense. I do think Dennis Allen's defense kind of lived up to the hype, and just eventually they were on the field too much, and eventually you're going to get your throws in there when you're out there all game for the Vikings offense. But yeah, big bounce back week opportunity for both these teams. Detroit. This honestly comes back to Green Bay. It's like, is this just, okay, Green Bay is just that good? And they had to deal with week 1 Green Bay, where there wasn't even any film on this kind of defensive line and what they were going to throw at you. Detroit did kind of settle in as the game went on. They played much better defense in the second half and started to move the ball a little bit more. So you got to think Detroit should be favored in this game, but hard to really know who these teams are right now. Can Caleb settle the hell down? I think I was talking about this last night with the people I was watching the game with. And, Caleb has just had so much pressure put on him since the moment he got here in Chicago, physically and metaphorically. Like, the offensive lines haven't been great, but he's just like, had to replace Justin Fields, who a lot of people loved there and was the number 1 pick and the golden boy and all this stuff coming out of USC. And he just needs to relax, man. Like, he's overcooking all these throws. His footwork's all over the place. I think you saw, especially Monday Night Football, one thing we've always said about like JJ McCarthy is, okay, we don't know a whole lot about like how good of a quarterback he is, but we do know for damn sure that he is a poised quarterback. And like, when the moment gets big, it's never going to be too big for him. Caleb has honestly shown like the pressure seems to be getting to him. So can going on the road, getting out of Chicago, can he settle down and just run the offense and take a deep breath, for God's sake? Like, I don't normally go there with quarterback analysis, but that's really what I feel with Caleb Williams. Is he just seems kind of in panic mode right now. So Big
No,
game here. Yeah, go ahead.
That's very fair. And I mean, I'm at the point, dude, where I wrote this down this week. My official stance on Caleb Williams is concerned but salvageable, because obviously the splash plays are there, and I know you're a big baseball fan, so I'm going to kind of throw back a player here. He kind of reminds me of like Adam Dunn, if you remember him. He's a big power hitter, where it was like it's like home run or strike out. And what's frustrating, Chris Davis would be another one, by the way, but it's just like home run or strike out, where you'll see these big plays. And he had the one really nice play to Rome Odunze early in the game on the sideline against the Vikings, and it was in a spin where he started out 10 of 10, and he finished the game after that. It was like 11 of 25. And I really worry with Caleb, where he's not taking what's in front of him. There's multiple passes in the flat where he is either overthrowing guys in the flat or throwing the ball at their feet. And I really worry.
It's all three levels. That's crazy.
It is. I mean, there's the inconsistencies with Caleb concern me. And I think that's, I mean, it's salvageable, but it's definitely noteworthy at this point, because there's misses, and the one to DJ Moore early in the game was a miss that he had. And that, if they convert that, they were up 7-3 at the time. If they go up 14-3, who knows what happens after that? But it was missed points for the Bears on a ball that Caleb missed. He obviously missed the deep ball to DJ Moore late in the game. And I worry about where Caleb Williams is right now, though I think it is completely salvageable. And with the Lions interior offensive line, Gervon Dexter had a hell of a game on Monday night against the Vikings, by the way. He's good. Yeah, he's a really good player.
He really stood out to me over the offseason. Like,
he did. No,
better than his like kind of grading profile would have suggested. Honestly, I think he's the real deal.
He is. And so there's a chance that Gervon Dexter can, take this game over, have a really high impact. But with how talented the Lions roster is, I'm still going to lean Detroit. I especially think that they're going to have, something for Ben Johnson. We'll see. But this is going to be, I would say, in some ways must see TV, because you want to see what both sides have to say. Amon-Ra St. Brown said just that the fans are going to boo the hell out of Ben Johnson, and that, we're ready for it type thing. And
he gave you one more year. He owes you nothing.
I mean, look,
I know they'll boo him because they booed Stafford, but I agree. Right.
I agree. But whenever you have an offense with Jared Goff, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Amon-Ra, Jameson, Sam Laporta, Penei Sewell, I'm going to lean with that more often than not, especially against with the inconsistencies that we've seen from Chicago. So I am going to lean with Detroit. This is a game where I feel like this is you just close your nose and pick one, and then ride with whatever side you choose. But I am going to go with the Lions to win this game.
Is DJ Moore good to go? Because he came back into the game right after he got smoked.
I think
he just lost his breath, or he got the wind knocked
out of him. Yeah, I was wind knocked out. That was tough.
I'm actually super tempted to take the Bears. I kind of believe in the idea that Ben Johnson's gonna kind of tee up this defense.
That's very the thing.
While they're a good defense, they're a pretty predictable defense.
You can argue either side. I'm very much under. You can argue either side. I did have a comment just say, by the way, that said anything with the Bears is not must watch TV. I knew you'd like that one. I knew you'd like that one. But
well, if you're a Vikings or a Packers fan, it is
right. By the way, Packers are 2-0. What are they in their last couple of games against the Bears?
They're 1-1.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. That's I was just wondering.
Do I need to pull up their record like the last 15 years?
No, I just wanted to bust your balls about that. That's all.
They haven't lost in Soldier Field in like a decade.
They lost to Lambeau though last year, so maybe protect your turf. Do you ever think of that?
Anyway, I'm gonna go Bears on the upset pick here. Not super confident in that. Obviously, it will be like full panic mode. Whoever loses this game, it is going to be full on panic mode. I think Detroit is going to figure this thing out as the season goes on, but I think they're kind of stumbling into the season right now with all their injuries. Like, I think that's a huge narrative right now with Ali McNeil is such a big deal for that D line. I'll go Bears like 21-20.
Okay. There is a comment. There's a comment. No Kyler Gordon. So that's
okay. Yeah, that matters.
Yeah.
Against St. Brown and Laporta. Yeah, that definitely matters. Yeah. All right. Where you want to go next, my friend?
All right. Let's go Ravens.
While you
Browns.
choose, the super chat laughing about Jake Mooney getting signed by the Bears, by the way. Just like, why?
Yeah.
Like, you already have a kicker. Why? Yeah.
Let's go Browns Ravens. This one will be just, let's just get it out there. This is actually pretty funny, by the way. We have Joe Flacco. I do have to shout out. You had to have seen the Stavros clip where there's just something about Flacco that I trust more. You had to have seen that clip, right?
No, I missed
All right,
that.
so it imitates Ravens fans, and I live in Maryland, so I can speak to the fact that I used to encounter fans like this, where it's basically there's just something about Flacco I just trust more. They just let a running back throw the ball. We just need just a good pocket passer, and it's hilariously accurate. At least it used to be. Now with Lamar winning 2 MVPs, it's not you don't see it anymore. But when Lamar was young, and especially after they lost in the playoffs in 2019 to the Titans. Those people were the purple camo pants. I love the Ravens. I love the Ravens nation. I love the flock. But anyway, Browns Ravens. Flacco returning. This is the Ravens. It's like their homecoming game or their 30th anniversary game, which is also a double whammy against Cleveland, obviously because of the the fact that they joined from Cleveland and all that and everything. So we have that to note. The Ravens are 11.5-point favorites, and the Ravens obviously lost in a very unfortunate fashion last week.
Ravens style.
Yes, unfortunately. Now I do have to say, Jair Alexander, definitely concerning.
Sheesh.
That was not good. So I think that you got rid of Brandon Stevens, but you may have brought Brandon Stevens back, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And with the Ravens in this game, I think it's very much going to be like, hey, once we get up 21 points, we're going to act like it's 0-0 if we get up 21 points, by the way, because the Browns beat the Ravens last year. But it's basically going to be, let's pounce on their throat and do not let up. Like, do not even consider letting up. And I do want to say that I was really impressed with a couple of players in the Browns last week. I thought Harold Phantom played well. I thought Carson Schlesinger played really well. And in terms of building a team through the draft, obviously – there was a lot of noise this preseason with Dylan Gabriel, with Shedeur Sanders, with all of that. But I really liked the draft the Browns had. Now, Quinshon Judkins is, I think that he's going to make his debut this week. That was the last that we heard. But I really thought this team did a good job of building through the draft. I do not think that the 2025 Cleveland Browns, led by a 40-year-old Joe Flacco, is close to where the Ravens are when healthy. And I had a thought last week. I'm never going to apologize for having a thought mid-game. I had a thought last week mid-game, especially after DeAndre Hopkins made the play. And then Lamar, after the 20-yard behind the line of scrimmage, gains 20 yards. And then the Derrick Henry touchdown. Yeah, after the Derrick Henry touchdown, it was their 40th point of the night. I just said, how do you beat this team? Now, unfortunately, they lost. But not going to apologize for having the thought. Credit to Buffalo. But I think Baltimore wins this one big. I don't think they get a chance. I don't think that there's a... Like if they get up, they're not going to play around. They don't want to mess around. They did start out 0-2 last year. That's definitely worth noting, but I'm going to take Baltimore to win, not surprisingly.
Both these teams are coming off probably what could go down as the two biggest choke jobs of the season, honestly, is what these two teams did last week. The way the Browns blew that game with the missed field goal and the 2 interceptions bouncing off their guys' hands. Crazy. Yeah, at the end of the day, I don't see the Browns being able to move the ball well enough to win this game. But if they can stop the run, which is obviously, like, to say easier said than done is an understatement. Like, this run game is just unbelievable. But if they can, the Browns defense with that pass rush and Greg Newsome stepping outside, which I've been calling for years, looked awesome. Like, he's not a slot corner. The Browns just finally figured that out. But if they can stop the run, they can definitely put a lot of pressure on Lamar and keep this game close. But you can't. You can't pick the Browns to win this game. That'd be pretty crazy.
Credit if you do, and you get it. But there's no chance that I would take.
There's a very narrow, like, stop the run and then Ravens choke in the fourth quarter is kind of your needle to be thread there. All right, I will take. This wasn't on your list of prepped games, right? Okay. Because I definitely screwed up. I also had the Browns Ravens game on my list too. But anyway, Giants Cowboys. Like, can the Giants move the ball? Like, can we figure this out, Brian Daboll? I've defended him all this time, but it's just like the more things change, the more things stay the same. Their offensive line's just a disaster. I don't even think Russ was like horrible. But you got to play a certain style when Russ is your quarterback, and you got to be able to buy him time, and they weren't able to do that. They basically were counting on Malik Neighbors like winning tough catches, and last week was a week where he couldn't do that. So they need a better plan offensively. It's a Cowboys defense that you theoretically should be able to throw the ball on. Like, their pass rush was non-existent last week. Well, I can't say non-existent. They got some wins off the edge last week from their other non-Micah Parsons pass rushers. But it's definitely a defense you should theoretically be able to buy time for and throw the ball against. Giants D-line, though, I think was pretty much as advertised against a Commanders passing attack that neutralizes a good pass rush. So it's going to be a tough battle for Dak going against this defense. Should be a lot of low scoring games this week, honestly. I don't like Dallas by 6. I see this as like a 20-17 type of game, probably. I think Dak is just, in control of this offense, and I like what we saw on that side of things. So I think he'll find answers against this pass rush, but it's not going to be an easy day for either of these quarterbacks, I don't think.
I would agree. And I was really impressed with the way the Cowboys played last week. The energy they played with, I wasn't a big fan of the Brian Schottenheimer hire. I don't know many people that were. But with the way this team played, I think that they're going to be in a lot more games than people may have initially thought. So I do want to credit the Cowboys there for that. But Dallas, I think, is a better offense, and, defense, of course, wins championships, but the Giants offense just, it looked so anemic last week, and it was not good. It was not, what positively do you say from that game last week for the Giants offense? And that's kind of the one. Now, the Cowboys are coming off of a mini bye / 3 extra days. I know they played on Thursday night in week 1. We're not in week 10, but yeah, I'm still going to go with Dallas at home. I still trust Dak. Javonte Williams, by the way, looked really good. I know it's, there's a lot of football last week, and you got to recall all the way back to last Thursday, but Javonte Williams looked good. CD, I have no doubt, will rebound after last week, and I like CD Lamb a lot. He's one of my favorite players in the NFL. I think he'll go for over 100 again. George Pickens will definitely get more involved in the offense this week. I honestly kind of disagree with the low scoring. I think there's a chance that this is honestly one of the more higher scoring games of the week, and I think that I would choose the over for the over under, but I do think Dallas wins, and I like the points a lot in this one.
All right.
Bills Jets, baby.
Bills. All right.
Battle for New York.
I'm just looking for. Oh, do I not have the graphic for that one?
No, it's on there. It's the one that I sent separate. It was the only one that I sent separate.
Oh, shoot. I don't think I grabbed that one. All right, we're talking about Bills Jets, people.
Bills Jets. So Bills last week, obviously, I'll be honest. This is a kind of like a trap game for the Bills. They won 41-40 last week. Absolutely insane come from behind win. Bills there were a lot of people that left this game early for Buffalo. And now that they are entering, week 2 against the Jets, I do worry, especially with Ed Oliver out. And by the way, Ed Oliver had one of the best games of his career last week, so credit where it's due. I know there's kind of this weird thing with Buffalo because they don't have a Lamar to Derrick Henry. They don't have another legit star player on the offense. Deion Dawkins is obviously great, but it's not at the same level, if that makes sense. So it's kind of a lot of the time where Josh is kind of the only one to get credit when it comes to things like that. But Ed Oliver played his tail off. Keon Coleman looked really good at the start of his second season. I was really impressed with that, and I hope he can build on that. But when it comes to Josh Allen and the Bills offense putting up 41 on the Ravens and Aaron Rodgers putting up 34 in the Jets last week, as simple as it is, you have to score more points than the other team to win games. I don't think this is going to be an easy game for Buffalo to win, and I think that they are going to, again, outscore the Bills, or outscore the Jets. But for this game to be a 6.5 point line, I think the Jets cover, and I was really impressed with the Jets' ability to run the football last week, and I really like the Justin Fields, Breece Hall quarterback running back duo. And I do want to give a shout out to one of my favorite players. We discussed, you had me on for the offensive line rankings pre-draft. Armand Membu he's one of my guys. And so is Olu Fashanu, although he didn't have a great game in week 1. Alex Highsmith had got the best of him, but I think you're going to see a lower scoring game within this one. Generally, these teams play pretty tight, and the Bills have won, or the Jets have won, I want to say 2 of the last 5 that have been played at MetLife. So I'm actually going to double check that. But the thing is it's not just Bills roll over Jets. Haha, Jets stink the way that some people may think.
Yeah.
And I am going to, there's a reason that they play. I mean, there's a reason that people say, I don't trust division games. It's because of games like the Bills and Jets. So I think the Bills win, but I definitely think the Jets cover. And if you guys remember, the Jets won a couple years ago in the season opener at MetLife when Zach Wilson took over. So the Jets winning wouldn't surprise me at all. But again, I'm not, hell or high water. I am going to choose the Bills more often than not, just being honest. A lot of people do. I think the Jets cover, I think Bills win.
Yeah, I mean, you got the Bills' run defense last week was unwatchable. They looked like they had no idea what they were doing, trying to stop Derrick Henry and Lamar and all these guys. And the Jets' run game was like one of the stories of the week. I mean, all parts of it. Breece Hall, I have to apologize for those that follow any of my advice for fantasy. I was like selling Breece Hall. I was all in. No, it's going to be a split. Like, he didn't look healthy last year. Like, they're already talking about how, he might not be back. He took all that personally. He looked even like more athletic than he's ever looked in his career. He had insane juice last week. So impressed by Breece Hall. You obviously have the Justin Fields factor. Just talking about the ground game, like, that speaks more for itself. Obviously, he was impressive in the passing game as well, in my opinion. But yeah, the offensive line, like you said, how underrated is that Josh Myers addition? 1 year, $6 million deal. Elijah Vera Tucker goes down the week of the season opener, and they just slide in a starting caliber center. He's not great, but it's a weak link position, and they were more than fine on the O-line. So if the Bills can stop the run, I think they boat race this Jets team. I was impressed by Justin Fields last week, but completely different style of defenses going against Pittsburgh last week, a defense that he practiced against every day, as opposed to this Bills defense that is the style that Fields has struggled with more throughout his career, which is the too high, like post snap rotations, kind of the, force you to take underneath stuff. And I do think Fields has gotten better at doing that stuff, but I still don't think he's going to sit there and pick this team apart through the air with just Garrett Wilson, essentially. So I see this as, like you said, either a close game, but I think if it's a close game, it's more of a high scoring game. I don't think the Bills are going to have too much of an issue against this Jets defense. So I see it as more of a close, high-scoring game or a complete blowout in favor of the Bills. If the Bills can stop the run, I think they'll win this one pretty handily, as that spread suggests. So it just comes down to if the Bills can stop the run is really where it will be decided for me.
Okay, we have game of the week, Saints 49ers.
Yeah, I don't have too much on this one. You got Mac Jones against Spencer Rattler.
That's a game, bro. That's a game. Week 2.
That's rough.
George Kittle's out. Yeah.
Frustrating to watch. Like, the Saints fans were booing, even though like they were more competitive than you probably expected, but they were booing because they watched the Saints offense, and it's like every throw is a 4-yard underneath completion. It's like everybody in that building knew, like, what are we doing here? Like, this isn't going to allow Spencer Rattler to develop. This is keeping Tyler Shook on the bench that they spent a 2nd-round pick on. They were just playing right into the Cardinals' hands, who play that off-zone style. And it's like countless, like 3rd and 8s, you're taking 4-yard underneath completions. It's like you're wasting everybody's time here. If you're going to have a wasted season, at least try to, go somewhere with it. So does that game plan change this week? I don't know the answer to that. You've got the Mac Jones factor. I actually am interested to see, I think Mac Jones will step in and play just fine in this offense. He always was Kyle Shanahan's guy. But do they have the playmakers to allow that for that infrastructure to be good here? Probably. Against the Saints defense, they'll be just fine and should be able to kind of navigate their way through this game and win it with Mac Jones. But that's really all I got. I'm gonna go Niners. I think they probably cover the 4.5 too.
I do like the Niners to win as well. I mean, this is going to be an interesting game because there's conversation to be had with Mac Jones, because this was supposedly who Kyle Shanahan wanted all along. And there's conversation to be had about that. But I'm also a big Brock Purdy guy. I think he's one of the most underappreciated players, especially at the quarterback position, where people just, he's a product of the system. He does this. Brock does a really good job of escaping sacks, and he has what I call scoot in his game. That's kind of just what I refer to it as the ability to get out of the pocket and to extend the ball to either throw it away or find somebody in the flat. And we'll see. Now, last week, Paris Johnson, he pitched a shutout against the likes of, players like Cam Jordan at this point in his career. And so I'll be eager to see how the Saints pass rush is this week against the 49ers. But I think the 49ers are just a better football team outside of a couple of positions. And I mean, there's not a lot to say. I think the 49ers are going to go into the Big Easy and win and start out 2-0. And I hope that they can get healthy, because it's already not looking good for a team that has dealt with countless injuries over the past couple of years.
Yep, absolutely. All right. What do we have left here?
We have
Atlanta, Minnesota, which was yours, and then Chargers, Raiders.
You take Chargers, Raiders, and then
we'll kind of buried the lead on this one. This one, I'm excited. I was so impressed by both these teams last week. I'm really excited to see if they can continue to build off of what we saw. I mean, from the Raiders side of things, I was really excited to see coming into the year, and then they executed upon it. Like week one, both sides of the ball. I think Chip Kelly is emerging as like one of the more interesting play calling names in the sport. I love the offense he's built here. It's got, college principles, a lot of fun formations where he'll go trips left, but they're like condensed splits. And,
right.
Those like stack formations like University of Tennessee runs all the time. They had like a triple stack, but it was like slightly offset. So it wasn't like everybody straight behind him, just like unique formations. The use of pre-snap motion was really innovative. Watching that counter to Josh McDaniels offense with New England, by the way, was like eye-opening. It was like, this is 2025 football versus 2007 football. But I thought they did a really good job of using the scheme to get receivers open down the field and let Geno be aggressive. And like, so many people viewed Geno signing with the Raiders as if this was like Gardner Minshew signing there all over again. It's like, what the hell are you guys talking about? Like Geno is cooked in Seattle, and he's in a better situation, frankly, with better scheming and probably better pass protection. Even if he doesn't have the receivers, he's getting a lot out of these guys. I mean, Tyquan Thornton looks awesome. He looks, I don't want to jump the gun on him, but just the way he like kind of fills out
by the way, Dante Thornton, just for what it's worth.
Sorry, I'm going to do that forever because they were both like the speedy,
right,
like 4.3 guys. The way he just kind of fills out his pads, it's like kind of like the inverse of I know we dumped on Reek Woolen earlier, but kind of the inverse Reek Woolen story where it's like that dude's just such a freak, man. Like he'll figure it out at the NFL level with the right surrounding situation. But yeah, Brock Bowers, like, and Michael Mayer back, like that's awesome. Ginty didn't even do much week one, but I'm really into this Raiders offense. And going against the Chargers defense that it's just hard to have too much to say about the Chargers defense. Honestly, like they just don't have a lot of star talent. They don't overly impress you, but they play well they're better than the sum of their parts. So how does that matchup end up? And then, like, dude, Justin Herbert needs his flowers, man. Like, holy crap, he does. That was unbelievable, dude. Like,
Herb.
Yeah, like I've been calling for him to use his legs and show the kind of navigation of the pocket, like keeping his eyes downfield against the rush. Like all of that, like all came together. He looked like he took all of the if man critiques like personally. He was insane. So now going against a Raiders defense that, I mean, talk about better than the sum of their parts. They have a slap job secondary. Their linebackers are like Jermaine Pratt, Landon Roberts. Like they don't have anybody really in the excellent pass. Crosby, Malcolm Kuntz, super underrated. Tyree Wilson is like turned into a player that you can put on the field and get something out of. Not what you want from a top 6 pick, but that's going to be a fun battle. Is this Chargers offensive line? Can they hold up as well as they did against pretty overrated Chiefs defensive line, frankly? They looked great last week, but can they hold up this time around by that time for Herbert to push the ball downfield? It's going to be a great game. I think the spread's on the money, 3.5 points there, but should be a great Monday Night Football game.
I agree. And in terms of just being able to simply throw the pigskin, throw the rock, this is going to be one of the more entertaining primetime games of the year. I have a video releasing tomorrow, a little spoiler, 10 a.m. Eastern. Be there, be square. It's talking about the biggest winners of the NFL, and I think Raiders fans are undoubtedly one of the biggest winners so far. I mean, Geno in week one, there were several plays where his arm talent borders on arm arrogance, and there's going to be plays throughout the year where Geno puts the Raiders in a pickle because he might throw an interception, maybe even too early in a game because he's trying to fit a football through a mailbox, but his arm ability still at 34, it's ridiculous. The velocity on the football. I mean, the first play of the game last week, it was a play action timing route to Brock Bowers, and it was funny because it was former Raider Robert Spillane who they threw the ball right by, and all Spillane could do was just put a hand up, and the ball just whizzed right by him. And obviously, everybody knows how I feel about Justin Herbert. I think he's one of the most talented quarterbacks in the NFL. I do think he is a top 5 quarterback when healthy, and he played at an MVP level last week against the Chiefs. He was making every throw in the book. He was running when he needed to, and that was one of the I texted my dad after the game. I just said this was one of the most enjoyable games I've watched from Justin Herbert in years, and I really hope we get to see this. And I don't think the Raiders secondary is all that good, and it's going to be one hell of a game. And you mentioned earlier that I am an early sleeper and early riser, but this is what I'm going to stay up for. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh man, it's going to throw off your whole week.
It definitely is. It definitely is because I'll be up till 1 Sunday, I'll be up to 1 Monday, and then we'll finally get back on Tuesday. But it is what it is. It is what it is. We'll survive, and I'm going to go with the Chargers to win this one, and I'm really, really looking forward to this game. I think there should be points in abundance.
Winner of this game will be first place in the AFC West.
Yes. Maybe tied with the Broncos, though, but we'll see.
Oh, sorry, Broncos fans. That was a silly comment. All right. Floor is yours. You saved this one for last, obviously.
Okay, so we got to get the graphic on the screen, but I asked the question. How do you want me to go about this? As a Vikings fan or as an analyst? Because if I go as a Vikings fan, there's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot.
Let's get analyst Garrett first.
Analyst Garrett first. All right.
And then end it with the fandom.
So whenever you look at this game, the Vikings defense last week, I thought was phenomenal, all things considered. Yes, they gave up the first drive to the Bears, and then the last touchdown drive they had, Cole Kmet made a hell of a play, and the Bears scored. But when you look at what this team did, the defense did most of the game. I mean, Flores really switched his philosophy up. He ran a lot of 4-man fronts or 4-man pressures in the first half, and then gradually as the game went on, sent 5, sent 6. And it was definitely not startling. It was not usual to see from a Brian Flores defense. So if you were able to see what this defense was able to do against an offensive line that I think is quite frankly better than Atlanta's, especially Ryan Newsel, and then the right tackle they had last week was, I want to say it might have been Elijah Higgins. I might be off on the name. I might be way off.
Wilkinson.
Right? I think it's Elijah Wilkins. It's Elijah Wilkins is the name. Yes. So that was who is starting for Caleb McGarry, who's out for the year at right tackle. Yeah. And I really worry about the Falcons' ability to be able to stop the Vikings pass rush. And unfortunately, Andrew Van Ginkel is out, or it's Elijah Wilkinson, by the way. Andrew Van Ginkel is out for this game. Gink is a really good player. He had double-digit sacks last year, was a Pro Bowler. But the Vikings' interior defensive line last week between Javon Hargrave and Jonathan Allen had 13 combined pressures. For reference, I don't know if you saw this stat. I will put you on the spot and just ask what you think. Last year, between Harrison Phillips and Jerry Tillery, how many pressures do you think they had all season combined? All season.
I would say Tillery probably had about 20.
And then Harrison Phillips. So you have to combine them.
Harrison Phillips probably 14.
They had a combined 21 pressures over a 17-game season. Okay. Javon Hargrave, Jonathan Allen, 13 in week 1 alone. So needless to say, they're going to be in Penix's face early and often. And then you also have Jonathan Grenard. Dallas Turner is going to have to step up in this game, especially with Van Ginkel out. I really worry about the Falcons, especially with an offensive line that's already not 100%. And I really worry about Penix in this game. Darnell Mooney is playing in this game, but he's not 100%. And Drake London also had a shoulder sprain, so he's not 100%. So you're dealing with an offense going into just a buzzsaw of defense, especially in a hostile environment at US Bank and JJ McCarthy's NFL debut. I think the Vikings win this one. And I mean, look, JJ McCarthy last week, obviously not a good, I'll get to fan Garrett here in a second, but not a good first 3 quarters last week. It was awful. There was a point I was live on stream for the entire game. He had more interception return yards than he did passing yards. It was tough. I was sitting here going through it. Immediately after the pick six, the viewers doubled immediately after. And it was, I was like, great, here we are. I'm getting humiliated on stream. We're down double digits.
No.
But 3 fourth quarter touchdowns in his NFL debut. NFL or first player since Steve Young to come back down double digits. I mean, once he settled in and everything, he was good. So I'm buying in. I think that the run game was certainly more established in the second half, and that's going to be what the Vikings are going to lean more towards. And honestly, we said this at the beginning of the stream with, a Sean McVay team versus a Brian Callahan team. I trust Kevin O'Connell a lot more than I trust Raheem Morris personally. And
what?
Yeah. I mean, that's how a lot of coaching games can be decided.
What a horrible take.
Anyway, Kevin O'Connell is one of the best in the business. I think there's a chance that the Vikings win this one by more than a touchdown. So we'll see how it plays out. Now, Darrisaw is also out in this game, but that's has to be noted. Justin School did not play well last week. The rest of the line played phenomenal. Shout out Donovan Jackson. This is Fan Garret, by the way. Shout out Donovan Jackson, 31 pressures or 31 pass blocking snaps, 0 pressures in his NFL debut. No big deal. Now, last week, you may not know this. JJ McCarthy, after the game, posts on Instagram 3 photos captioned 1-0. He grew up in Chicago or grew up near Chicago. Obviously, the picture of him last week went viral of him in the Brian Urlacher jersey with the Bears foam finger. Posted the Kanye West song Homecoming, and within the Kanye West Homecoming song, there's a lyric specifically in the song that says fireworks at Lake Michigan. Obviously, Chicago sits on Lake Michigan. Now, I'm going to be honest here. Last year, I was definitely hesitant because of Sam Darnold, because, it's, hey, Sam could turn into a pumpkin. He could see ghosts at any point. I'm in a very dangerous situation here because I am extremely bought in. I've never been more bought in with a coach. Look, this is my first round quarterback since Teddy. Shout out Teddy, by the way. I love Teddy Bridgewater. I would literally do anything for Teddy. He's the GOAT. But anyway, I'm in a dangerous situation, man, because if we win, we start out 2-0. It's 2-0 in prime time. JJ looks good, especially if he doesn't, language shit the bed for the first 3 quarters. We get everybody going. Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason, Donovan Jackson has another good game. I'm going to be in a dangerous situation here because it's
nothing says hang the banner like a week 2 home victory over Raheem Morris's Atlanta Falcons.
You're 100% correct. You couldn't have said better. I couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, look, if I'm just being honest. If we come out and look good, I'm going to text you immediately after the game. I might even text you. We had a lot of things going on Sunday night with the weekly recap and all that, but the thought will be there that we'll see you week 18 for the division title. I'll just say that. I'll just leave that. That's dude, I'm at a danger Vikings fan level. I am at a dangerous situation because I am entirely bought in. I'm JJ also, by the way, congratulations to him and his, I don't know if it's fiance, girlfriend, wife, but they just had a kid. He missed practice yesterday. So congratulations to JJ. So you might also have to factor in the dad strength there, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree. Like, you got to go Vikings in this game. They're in a show me situation. I like Michael Penix. I think he's looked good. I think he looked good last week, but he's not enough to lift this whole thing up. Love Drake London as well, but that's really the only 2 things I truly love about this Falcons team.
Right.
And Bijan, of course, who was unreal. Just outrunning the entire Bucks defense on a check down for a touchdown. That's the type of stuff he can do. But I do feel like you're kind of counting on a superstar effort from Bijan, honestly, to win this one. It's not impossible, but I just think of Brian Flores is going to make this so challenging on this offense. I think the right tackle injury is going to be a big issue, but it is at least somewhat evened out with Van Ginkel, being
also Blake Cashman's out, by the way. I do want to note that as well.
Yeah, and that's been a big deal. The Vikings defense has, at least last year, struggled without Cashman, but the Eric Wilson signing was, I said it in their deep dive, super underrated. Cashman's going to miss some time because that's unfortunately part of Blake Cashman, but Eric Wilson can play. So I definitely think, the Vikings defense will make things hard on Penix. Really the only issue on Penix is he still misses some throws. Accuracy is good, not great on him. Kind of Trevor Lawrence-esque, honestly, in the sense that that missed throw feels like it is any moment waiting to happen. But other than that, this isn't really a Michael Penix thing at all. I just don't trust Raheem Morris in this defense to make JJ uncomfortable in a cozy situation in Minnesota. So I will definitely take the Vikes here.
US Bank, I'll end on this. US Bank Stadium's going to be rocking. You've been to US Bank, you can admit that when the skull chant's going and it's an electric atmosphere. And
yes,
JJ's debut, I'm looking forward to it. Shout out Thor Nystrom, he's going to be there. I'm looking forward to it. And I've not been this excited to watch Vikings football since in a long time. So I'm all in. JJ's got the mentality. He's dude, Viking fan Garrett is at a dangerous level. Analyst Garrett says they're still going to start out 2-0. But with Cashman, with Van Ginkel, it's going to be more difficult, of course, but I still think that the Vikings are a more talented team. And you didn't accidentally win 14 games last year, and Kevin O'Connell's not accidentally 35-17 lifetime as a coach. So I'm going to go with the Vikings, especially in a way more favorable atmosphere than what they had last week. But I do think Minnesota wins this one. 24-17.
All right. I think we did it.
We did. That was first. That was are we good? Or did you want to have any closing thoughts?
No, I think I'll let you wrap it up.
All right. Appreciate everyone joining. It's a good stream, good NFL Week 2 preview. It's Friday afternoon, so hopefully you have a good start to your weekend. And if you did enjoy, please like the video. Please subscribe to my channel. Subscribe to Marcus's channel, That Franchise Guy. And we will see you next Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern. And as always, until next time, please be safe and have a great day. Love you guys.
Awesome. See you guys.